Hey guys, so I was in the market for a second generation X3 and I recently came across this 2007 BMW X3 E83 with about 114,000 miles on the clock. This comes with a 3.0 inline 6 automatic transmission and an all-wheel drive setup. At the time of the inspection, everything checked out just fine. It's a clean title, two-owner vehicle. It came with some maintenance records, a few misimperfections in the paint, nothing to be unexpected from a used car. Overall, a very well kept vehicle. So guys, 2 months in on the purchase and I get a problem. There's no reverse. I can shift the knob into reverse, but it will not engage. This transmission is the GM 6L45, also found in other BMW 3 Series. It appears the problem happens when you get close to the 100,000 miles. Despite that, the transmission shifts just fine moving forward. So guys, before you take your car into your local mechanic shop or dealership and get upsold on a new transmission or a transmission rebuild, which are both very costly repairs, it wouldn't hurt to check if you have a broken gear selector valve. If you do, that could very well be the cause of the no reverse issue. Alright, without any further ado, let's jack this baby up and take a look underneath. So under the car, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this plastic cover or shield. It's only held on by, I believe it's 1, 2, 3 bolts. So let's go ahead and get it removed. Now that we've gained access to the oil pan, we're going to undo the drain bolt and drain the fluid out. Once you're done draining the fluid, you're going to need to undo all the bolts around the oil pan to further access the transmission. At this point, you will be able to see whether your gear selector valve is broken or not. If you crawl over to the driver's side door, you're going to be able to tell it just by looking up. If you see that little tab right there, it's supposed to be connected with a metal rod that goes right in a little slot. But let's continue by removing this oil filter that's in the way so we get a better image. It should come right off by pulling down on it with adequate force. So with the oil filter removed, we're able to see the rod a lot better now. That's the plastic end of it. And the valve or the rod is it's just right there in that little pinhole. And this is supposed to be one piece. And as you can see, it's just snapped right off at the plastic end. Okay, so now that I've confirmed the cause of the no reverse issue, we're going to go ahead and replace our broken gear selector valve. But in order to do that, you're going to need to lower the valve body just a little bit. Otherwise, you won't have enough room to get it out of there. I actually tried to pull it out without lowering the valve body and it just hits the very edge of the transmission case. My camera died. This is my GoPro right here, but I hope you'll still be able to see what I'm doing here. So going back to that, you're going to need to lower the valve body just a little bit. So there's going to be about 8 Torx bolts and all you need to do is loosen them up. You don't need to fully remove them and then lower the valve body just a little bit. Okay, so at this point I've already removed the old or broken gear selector valve and this is the new one going right in. When you're done installing the gear selector valve, you're pretty much going to be putting everything back together now. So let's go back and tighten up the bolt for the valve body. Okay, so now we have to put all the bolts back, tighten everything down, put your oil filter back in there and she should be good to go. Last piece of assembly here, just giving the oil pan bolts a good snug. As soon as we're done with that, we should be able to pump some fluid. Alright guys, we're going to try and speed it up here. As you can tell, it's kind of getting dark already. This is the fluid that I'll be using. And you may want to get a pump such as this one to be able to pump all the fluid right into the oil pan. Alright guys, it is a little late now, but all we're doing now is just pumping the fluid into the oil pan. And I believe it took about 7 quarts. And so what you do is you pump, and turn your car on so you can cycle some of that fluid, and at the very end just keep your car on and keep pumping until it drips, and then just put the bolt back up in there and you should be good to go. Alright, so the no reverse problem has been fixed. I'm going to start this right up, put the car into reverse and show you guys that the car actually moves backwards. This is a common problem with these transmissions and you are likely to come across this issue either before the 100,000 miles or just right after the 100,000 miles, somewhere in between. Parts cost was about $100 for me, give or take, but you should expect to spend up to $200 in parts. It all depends on how much stuff you're actually going to be replacing, like your oil filter, your oil pan gaskets, things like that. The job took about 3 hours to complete from start to finish. And the tools I used was pretty much just a ratchet and a few sockets, and of course your jack and your jack stands. So you don't really need a whole lot of tools to be able to fix this yourself. Alright guys, so I hope the video was helpful. We did fix a problem, but another one has arisen. So we do have a 4x4 light, as you can see there on the dash. And I used to have a 4x4 ABS and brake light come on intermittently, but for whatever reason, the only light that stayed on is the 4x4 light. So we're going to be looking into that next. That being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.